Imagine a new club of nations, BRICS, growing fast and gaining power. The name stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and later South Africa. Together, they represent a huge share of the world's population and economy. Their goal? To create a global partnership not dominated by the West. For decades, institutions like the World Bank and IMF were led by the US and Europe. BRICS wanted a bigger say, so they created their own, the New Development Bank. This was a clear signal. A new power center was emerging. In 2024, BRICS expanded, welcoming Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE. This transformed BRICS into a major geopolitical force, spanning continents and key resources. The group isn't a military alliance like NATO, but an economic and political forum. Members have different systems and interests but share a goal: a multipolar world. They push for global governance reform and more trade in local currencies, reducing reliance on the US dollar. The rise of BRICS is reshaping global power. It's one of the biggest stories of the 21st century. The world is changing, and BRICS is at the heart of it. The alliance is challenging the old order. The future of global leadership is up for grabs. Canada and the US share the world's longest undefended border and a deep economic partnership. Billions in goods cross daily, built on trust and mutual benefit. But the Trump presidency changed everything. Trump saw trade as a zero-sum game and targeted NAFTA, calling it the worst deal ever. Tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum followed, citing national security. Canada felt betrayed and retaliated with its own tariffs. The trade war disrupted businesses and supply chains on both sides. Even after Trump, scars remain. USMCA replaced NAFTA, but disputes continue. Canada learned a hard lesson: relying on one partner is risky. Political shifts in the US can upend decades of cooperation overnight. Canadian leaders now see the urgent need to diversify trade. The old certainty is gone. Canada must look for new friends and markets. The US-Canada relationship is no longer unshakable. The world is forcing Canada to adapt. The search for alternatives has begun. Trade disputes with the US jolted Canada awake. Over 75% of Canadian exports went south, an obvious vulnerability. The Trump era exposed this weakness. Canada realized it needed new partners and markets. Enter the Northern Pivot, a strategic shift to reduce US dependence. Canada signed deals with the EU and joined the Trans-Pacific Partnership. But the boldest move? Interest in BRICS. Joining BRICS would be a radical departure from Canada's Western alliances. It signals a desire to bridge old and new power blocks. The motivation is economic. BRICS nations are massive, fast-growing markets. For Canadian businesses, this means new opportunities and customers. The Northern Pivot is pragmatic, a response to global change. It's about economic security in an uncertain world. Canada is rethinking its place in the global order. The search for stability and growth is driving this shift. For Canada, BRICS means economic diversification. Imagine Canadian farmers and tech firms selling to India, China, Brazil, and the UAE. Access to these markets could insulate Canada from US trade shocks. BRICS membership offers a new engine for growth. It also gives Canada a bigger voice on the world stage. The G7's influence is shrinking. BRICS is where the action is. Canada could help shape the future of the global South. The New Development Bank funds infrastructure. Canadian firms could benefit. BRICS is moving to trade in local currencies, reducing US dollar dependence. For Canada, this means new financial tools and stability. Canada's resource wealth, oil, gas, minerals, matches BRICS's hunger for raw materials. Long-term supply deals could secure Canadian jobs and prosperity. The partnership could guarantee stable markets for Canadian exports. BRICS offers a path to greater influence and economic security. The allure is clear: a more stable, prosperous, and globally relevant Canada. The opportunity is historic. The stakes are high. Joining BRICS isn't easy, it's full of risks. The biggest? Managing the US relationship. Washington could see BRICS membership as a betrayal, straining trade and security ties. Canada would need to balance old alliances with new ones. BRICS isn't a club of like-minded democracies, it includes China and Russia. Canada's values on democracy and human rights could clash with BRICS members. Critics warn of compromising core principles. Economically, BRICS markets are complex and protectionist. Canadian firms would face tough competition and unfamiliar rules. There's no guarantee of a trade boom. Success would require hard work. In BRICS, Canada would be a small player among giants like China and India. The risk being sidelined or drawn into others' agendas. The path is tempting, but the pitfalls are real. If Canada joined BRICS, it would send shockwaves worldwide. A G7 nation aligning with the global South would challenge old alliances. The West versus the rest narrative would blur. The G7's unity and prestige would take a hit. Other countries might follow Canada's lead, weakening Western institutions. The US would have to rethink its approach to allies. For BRICS, Canada's membership would be a huge win. More legitimacy, more influence. BRICS would look more global and inclusive. Canada would bring technology, resources, and financial stability to the bloc. The move could accelerate the shift to a multipolar world. Power would be more balanced, but the system more complex. Global issues would need new forms of negotiation. Canada's leap could signal a seismic shift in world order. Canada stands at a crossroads, old alliances or a new global role. The choice will define its place in the 21st century. It's not just a political decision, but a question of national identity. Does Canada remain firmly in the West or become a bridge between worlds? The debate touches on values, prosperity, and Canada's global role. The world is watching. Other nations face similar choices as power shifts. Canada's decision will offer lessons for others navigating a multipolar era. The possibility of joining BRICS shows how much the world has changed. Old certainties are gone, new powers are rising. The global order is in flux. Whether Canada joins or not, the debate itself is historic. The map of global power is being redrawn. The future is unpredictable, and Canada's next move matters.